Alright, so today I'm going to be tying an interesting little nymph pattern, and this is a Scudback Caddis nymph, and I like this fly a lot for bass, and I've heard that this and stuff like this works really well for brown trout, and I'm actually tying a few of these for one of my friends who's taking a trip to West Virginia on a river there to fish, and I think that'll do great there for the rainbows and goldens and browns that they have down there. So, let's get tying. You'll need a standard curved nymph hook, and I'm using a size 10 because caddis nymphs are generally fairly large. And you will need lead wire, copper wire, Scudback, olive dubbing, and a dark brown dubbing. I will also be using black thread. To begin this fly, I begin the thread base just behind the eye of the hook and begin to bring it backwards. Now before I do anything else, I want to take the lead wire I was talking about and use my older or duller pair of scissors and measure it up to the hook shank to make it a good bit shorter, because this will provide some weight and also will make the body a bit thicker. So I'm going to begin taking very tight wraps on this, since there's no concern of damaging anything here or messing up much because it's lead wire. There's not much you really can mess up. So I can tie it down very tightly and take as many wraps as I feel like. Now I'm going to tie in the copper wire and then the Scudback, because I always tie in first what I want to use last. This is, okay, it actually doesn't say, but this is a smaller width of copper wire. You can see there, it doesn't have much width on my thread even. I'm going to use a fair amount. I mean, I've just trimmed like 4 inches. This should be enough for 2 or 3 flies. So that'll be perfect for now. And now I'm going to take my Scudback, or in my case really a substitute, which is a clear rubber band like this. And I don't exactly know where I got this. I just know that around my house we've always had a good bit of them, and I like using them for this, so that's what I'm doing. And this makes a great substitute for Scudback, especially wider Scudbacks, because it's not too thick and it can become like almost a smaller size. If you stretch it out, it'll become thinner and less wide. So it's almost adjustable really size-wise. I'm just going to rotate my vise and make sure I have all of it tied down. Now I'm going to begin taking a lighter olive color of dubbing, which I have here in my little dubbing case. And that's the one I'm going to be using, because you also can use that one. I just prefer this lighter color because it just gives it a more sort of bright look to it, and that's what I want on this fly. I want to dub this very tightly, since I want the wire to not really penetrate deeply into the dubbing. I just sort of want it to rest on top of it. So you want to dub this fly very tightly. This fly's body will be fairly wide, but so are caddis nymphs in real fishing scenarios. So I don't really bother too much with the proportions on this fly, but I'm pretty consistent with this fly actually, because it's a very easy pattern. I was teaching one of my friends to tie, and this was one of the first patterns I tied him, just without the Scudback. I've got a fair-sized dubbing needle right here. This might cover me all the way for olive dubbing. And that's going to be just short of what we want. We want about 2/3 body, 1/3 head when we tie this fly. That's the proportions I shoot for, at least. Alright, that's going to be perfect. So now I'm going to take my Scudback substitute And I'm going to lay it flat across the body, pinch it down with a finger, and I'm going to tie it down. Now you can't adjust it by pulling on it or anything, but I actually have mine right where I want it right now. I do pull it to cut it, because when you stretch it, you can get more of it down, really, or you can cut more. Now I'm going to take my copper wire and use my rotary vise to make distanced wraps down the body, and you should be able to fit 3 or 4 wraps along the total body for this fly. And then I tie down my wire and helicopter it off. Breaks off right at the tie-in point when you helicopter it, so that's useful. Now I'm going to go for a dark brown or black dubbing, like one of these two. And that's what I'm going to be using for the head on this fly. I also forgot to point out, this is the 7th video in my Nymph series. I didn't make the damselfly nymph one part of the series because that's more of a warm water pattern, and this is more about just like standard trout nymphs and stuff. And also the patterns in the Nymph series are a bit more well established, or at least spins off of well established patterns. I don't want way too much dubbing here, so now I'm just going to build up the head a little just to even everything out, make it neater. Reach for my whip finisher, and I'm going to do really as many turns as I can get in without disrupting the proportions and profile of this fly, which with a pattern like this you can get quite a lot in, so you can have a strong whip finish on this one. Now I'm going to trim it, and my fly is now complete, and you can see this is a nice fat little Caddis / Scud type fly, and I like this a lot for fishing a variety of situations, especially since there's multiple Caddis hatches throughout the year. I know there's a major one coming up. Probably it's already happening, really, if it's May right now. So right now there's a pretty big Caddis hatch going on, as well as a mayfly hatch, though this does not really imitate mayflies. And in the fall there will be a Caddis and Scud hatch, so this is when I recommend fishing that pattern. And you can see here, they're about the same proportion-wise. They're almost like the same fly, really, when they're compared like that. And I'm just putting it upside down so my camera will focus on both of them. But I like this pattern a lot. I hope you enjoyed tying this pattern, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please consider liking and subscribing this video, and leave a comment telling me any thoughts or questions about this pattern or this video. Thank you.